What's all this about rotors?
Just so we know who's with you and when.
Yeah, but you were arguing.
I just want to change one date, if Amy will let me.
Oh, I don't like it. It's not necessary.
We're just going by what the doctor said. It's going to take you a while to recover. You're going to need some help around the house.
So, I'm out of order then, am I?
Look, we just care about you. How would you like it if we just stuck you in the corner of the room with a Choc ice and House of Games?
Yeah.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 311 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that actually found a warning about upsetting scenes to be relevant this week. I'm not talking about Rosie's funeral. I'm Gavin.
And I will see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday?
Yes.
You dirty cow. What have I done to deserve that? As if I didn't know. Actually, I don't know.
Absolutely nothing.
Okay.
It's the fact that I work from home on Mondays doing marketing.
Oh, hold on. Action talk. That's my kind of AI voice.
Oh. Anyway, we're going to be off the grid for a bit next week.
Couple of days.
So because I will be working Monday, but I won't be working the rest of the week. And then the following week, I will also still not be working on Monday from work. So I said to everybody, as I left, I said, see you next Tuesday. And everybody found it hilarious. But it was true.
They are a show of cunts. No, they're not. No, they're lovely.
It was true that I will see them next Tuesday. Yeah, Teresa said I looked very cute today, so that was really nice. And I meant to tell you this the other day. I keep forgetting to tell you. The other day, Sharon walked in and she said, I just got off the phone with this guy who has all these vinyl records that he was going to auction off with another company, but he's pulled them and he's bringing them to us because he said he really likes the way that you do records.
That I do records?
That I do records.
Oh, okay. I'm less interested now.
So, how amazing is that?
That's very good news.
Yeah. Yeah, that made me feel really good. So, it's so nice. So nice. I love my job. I enjoy it a great deal. Except when I don't, when it makes me very stressed.
So you went from, I love my job, I like my job stresses me out.
I love
and
my
successive sentences.
I love my job, and it also gives me anxiety. Just like I love my family, but they also give me anxiety. It's the same
Let's
thing.
look forward to next week then.
How do you know I'm not referring to you or the children?
I know you. We've probably had this conversation. I got emails feedback this week.
Oh,
saying that working with Gavin has been a wonderful experience.
I don't doubt it. That sounds lovely.
It was the little boost that I was needing.
Yeah. Was it someone who actually appreciates your jokes at work?
I think it might have been. I'm not sure what they were talking about otherwise.
You also have a delightful accent.
I do, apparently.
Yes. You know, and
which
a lot
covers
of people,
up a multitude of sins.
It does. And I mean, a lot of people you work with have been hearing it for like over a decade now. So it doesn't quite work on them quite as much. But
well, I'm a team of 8 people and
new people on the team all the time.
5 of them are fairly new.
Yeah.
So I managed to recycle quite a lot of my material
Right.
with them.
So you have years to work on your charm.
Yep. It's all good stuff. So how are you anyway? You've kind of hinted that we're going to be on our travels next week.
Well, I didn't quite say that. I said we would be off the grid. I was trying to be subtle so that nobody flies to America and breaks into our house.
They'll have a very disgruntled Dobby dog to get by.
Right.
If that's the case.
At a very
Who might lick them to death.
at a very disgruntled and hairy 26-year-old man.
Right. Just a random 26-year-old man. But don't worry, dear listener. We will be back in time for
Coronation Street.
doing this shit next week.
Yeah.
It's
Listen,
a short...
Let's know. Talk of the Street, yes, because we know which side our bread is buttered on.
It's a short week
Yeah.
next week. It's just Monday, Friday.
Yeah, which works.
So that works out quite nice. It's like
It does.
the gods of Corey knew that we would be away doing
Yeah, it's like
other
they did
things.
it just for us.
I had the notion if we have some time to swing by Philadelphia.
Oh, that's a thought. I've asked Stelly if there's anything in particular she wants to do, and she hasn't said anything. So Philadelphia sounds doable.
I've never been,
Really?
and my boss says there's lots of great things to do.
Yes.
And he started to rhyme them all off.
Uh-huh.
And all I could think of was running up the steps of is it the City Hall or the library that was in Rocky?
Wearing a gray sweatsuit and a towel wrapped around your neck.
Yep. With
Going like this.
chased by hordes of children for some reason. Yeah, that's aged well.
And get some cheesesteaks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems like a plan.
Yeah.
Shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that City of Brotherly Love, Corey News.
Brotherly shove, more like.
Oh, Funkadelphia. Filthadelphia.
Yeah. I've been to some not great parts of Philadelphia in my time. So I've seen both sides of that fair city.
Let's just stick to the nice bits.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yes.
hit us with that news.
All right. Back in 2005, Sir Ian McClellan was on Coronation Street as a book club con man.
19 years ago, yes.
Yes, you may recall this.
I do. I recall it.
I kind of want to watch these episodes now.
They're coming up on Classic Corey.
Yes. Well, you need to give me a heads up for those. He loved it so much that he had this brilliant idea to play the same character on Emmerdale and EastEnders.
Oh, I see.
And Emmerdale and EastEnders were up for it. They thought it was a brilliant idea. And I mean, who doesn't want Sir Ian McClellan to show up on their show? It blows me away a little bit that Sir Ian McKellen was on Coronation Street in 2005 when he was already, a big deal.
Davy Jones from The Monkees was also on Coronation Street.
Yeah.
Oh.
That makes sense. He was on a
Something
number
to
of
do
other
with Ina
things.
Sharples, I believe.
He's been on I recall Davy Jones on something else. Oh, on the Brady Bunch, I think. And everybody had the hots for him. I had the hots for him at one point.
Can I just double check that item of news was, in a nutshell...
I haven't
Oh, no,
finished.
you haven't finished. Okay.
I haven't finished.
Thank goodness.
So he has this great idea. EastEnders are totally in. He's on the phone with Emmerdale, and they're warming to the idea of him just randomly sitting at the Crown Vic, just
At the what?
is it at the Crown Vic, the bar,
The Queen Vic.
the Queen Vic?
The Crown Vic is a type of car, I believe.
Yes, but it's also other things. I'm
Well,
sure.
one
I'm
of
sure
those,
other things
one
are
of those
called
things
Crown
that
Vic.
isn't the pub in
Right,
EastEnders.
okay. Yes. And then what happens?
COVID.
No, fucking Tony Warren, the creator of Coronation Street, shut the whole idea down, insisting that characters from soap operas do not acknowledge the existence of the other soap operas.
But they did.
But they didn't in 2005.
I keep on forgetting that this is 19 years old. Sorry.
So no one tell Mr. Warren's ghost about that Earth Day stunt a few years ago.
Right.
God, that took forever because you kept interrupting.
It did. And it
And
remains
you kept ruining the joke.
and it remains an old piece of Corey news.
No, because Ian McClellan just talked about it this
not,
week.
It's not McClellan.
I don't know why I keep saying that because I know it's not McClellan. It's because it's hot in here. Anyway, and I'm thinking of Kyle MacLachlan, who is a completely different person. Anyway, so it didn't happen. My idea is for him to come back and be on all 3 soaps as Gandalf. Like, somebody takes Sam to Comic-Con in Manchester. I'm sure there's a Manchester Comic-Con. And they bump into a cosplayer cosplaying Gandalf, but the cosplayer is played by Ian McKellen. Wouldn't that be hilarious? And I know he's laid up currently because he fell off a stage on last Friday, or a couple of days ago. He fell off a stage, but he's supposed to recover. So it can't happen right now. But wouldn't it be hilarious if Sir Ian McKellen showed up on 3 different soap operas as Gandalf? I would love it. And he has said that he wants to play Gandalf again, and there aren't any more Tolkien books.
So soap opera then?
Yeah. Why not? Why not? I just love the fact that he was on this. That Patrick Stewart was on the show before Sir Ian McKellen was on the show. Because Patrick Stewart was on the show like in the very beginning playing a firefighter or something, which is hilarious. I think he still had hair at the time. Anyway, we spent a long time on that one piece of Corey news. Claire Sweeney has shared that she suffers from perioral dermatitis on Instagram, and she had a flare-up this week, and apparently it's very sore. We hope that she feels better soon.
She suffers from what?
It's like a skin condition on your face.
Oh.
Around your mouth. It looks horrible. It kind of looks like what Sally gets when she takes that antibiotic she's allergic to.
Oh, that was Stella saying, take my name out of your mouth. It's very warm in here at the moment.
So we have the door open.
Which makes Helen say McClellan, apparently. And we have the window open, the door open, and 2 fans going at the moment. I'm very proud of the sound quality that we get on this podcast.
Yes.
I put a lot of work into this.
Yeah. I listened to the list of lists earlier today on the way home because I don't like listening to it at work. For some reason, I'm uncomfortable listening to myself when I'm around other people.
Oh, sure. That's reasonable.
And you could hear Cookie's mewing a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Otherwise, it sounded great. Yeah. So just to be forewarned, folks, a cat may meander in here and give her opinion on Cassie taking care of Ken or something else that happened this week.
We will see.
We'll see. Anyway, and finally, it feels like we've been doing Corey news forever. And finally, this is what happens when you interrupt me.
I haven't said a word in 10 minutes.
That's what you say. And finally, fans of the show who live in Manchester can ride the tram specially wrapped with images from the show that is currently part of the tram service in Manchester. Peter Gunn, Elle Mulvaney, and Julia Golding have had the honor of the very first ride, and they made a little cute video promoting it and everything. So that's nice, isn't it, Gav?
Our very own Mersey Tart, sometime blogger on the Coronation Street blog, he off 5 things we learned about Corey this week.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't do that anymore, though, does he?
He doesn't do it anymore. He still blogs, and he loves trains.
He
so
does.
This might be the thing that gets him back onto the tram lines, he said.
Oh, well, that's really nice. I miss him. I found Den on Instagram, so I'm happy there.
Hey.
I still get my Den, but I miss Mersey Tart. He needs to come to Blue Sky, and that's Corey News. I think he'd really enjoy Blue Sky. It's very gay over there.
All right, well, I'm not sure how to segue into Everyone's a Critic, so let's just do it. A much lighter mailbag this week.
It's fine. It's fine. We don't have to get mail every week.
We don't, but it's been something of a regular occurrence over the past month or so, having a bulging mailbag. My mailbag's not so bulging this week. However, Mark did write in. And he says, nothing to do with Corey, but the other week you mentioned all-girl garage punk band Plum Vision, and just wanted to let you know that I've listened to their album, and hey, count me as a fan.
Woo!
Thanks for the heads up, and I'll keep an eye out to see if they play the South Kirkby Miners Welfare Club on an upcoming tour. But if they do, they'll need to ignore the bingo at the back of the hall. Was Corey even on this week? Yes, it was, Mark, and we're about to talk about it for maybe an hour and 10 minutes.
And also, look out for the band Big Girls Blouse, who may actually play that place at some point. Because they're on your side of the ocean.
Yes. And then Cheeky writes in, I just need Rowan to be found out. He is shit. Nick and Toyah should know better. And if I were Michael, I'd be sick of Glenda's vendetta too. Thank you very much to Cheeky and to Mark. I'm not sure that... Has Michael not been supportive?
I think Michael has been supportive, but I think there has been spoilers in the ether that maybe his support comes to an end at some point.
Oh dear.
But yeah, I don't understand why Toyah and Nick had to do that right there in front of an open door.
Well, we'll get to that.
Because plot, but
sure.
you know.
So yeah, thank you to Mark and to Cheeky for writing in this week. Feedback is always welcome. Send us your thoughts and I will probably read them out. Get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com, and our DMs are open at Corey Podcast. Please note that we reserve the right to edit feedback, but only in the interests of brevity. And now we'll podcast for coffee. We're drinking our own coffees this week, and I'm not pressing my new button.
It's the heat.
It's the heat here.
It's hot everywhere. Let's be honest. It's hot everywhere. The whole planet's heating up.
That's a lot of people in the UK complaining that it was like 12 degrees or something over there. So 54 and old money.
That
their summer hasn't yet started. I would kill for 54 at the moment.
That sounds really nice, actually.
It's about 85 degrees in this room.
Yeah.
Which is maybe 30, and it's like 70% humidity.
Yeah.
My feet are just squishing into the carpet at the moment.
My ears get sweaty doing the podcast anyway. And now they're just doubly so.
Yeah.
Sweaty ears.
Maybe it is, but hey, it's all good. The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes. But if you think a show is worth any more than the time it takes to listen to it, and if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee. Maybe an iced coffee.
Ooh, lovely.
By going to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/The Talk of the Street. You can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link, where for as little as $2 a month, you can get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. And we now have a Patreon site where you can also show us some love and sign up to be a friend of the podcast. That's patreon.com/The Talk of the Street. But remember, folks, you can always support the podcast for free and get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcast. And I think if we had our druthers,
not brothers.
I think we'd prefer that last bit.
Yes. Leave our brothers out of it.
Absolutely. Hey, do you want to talk some Coronation Street?
Well, I have nothing better to do.
Let's do that and start this week by talking about reality coding bites. On Tuesday, it's the day of Rosie's funeral, and Leanne has some news for Toyah. She's spoken to George and decided to use her savings to pay for, she hates the word, an upgrade. Toyah is reluctant to accept, but Leanne insists, and the sisters seem to make up a little bit, although Nick is quietly suspicious as he watches on.
Right, because he knows that Leanne doesn't have any savings.
Right. The coffin is toty when we see it, and George respectfully loads it into the hearse, and...
Ugh, it's so toty in his big, massive hands.
Broke my heart.
Ugh.
I've been to a couple of baby funerals.
Yeah.
And the sight of the tiny coffin never fails to break you.
No.
Seeing George, somebody said on Twitter, it should have been Toyah that was carrying it.
That's not how that works.
But having George do it, which I think is how it works.
Yes.
And him being
massive,
a much bigger figure than Toyah, that made the coffin look even totier.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Blessedly, I've only had to go to one of those in my life. And one was more than enough.
Yeah, absolutely. But then, don't you know, but fucking Rowan has the nerve to show up, and Toyah loses her shit, sends him packing, while Leanne just looks awkward, but oddly doesn't say anything.
No.
After the funeral, Toyah wants to know why Leanne couldn't tell Rowan to fuck off, and then quickly realises, oh, wait a minute, he was the one who paid for the funeral.
It was not quickly. It takes forever for Toyah for that ball to drop. Leanne says repeatedly, he's the reason why we were able to give her such a nice funeral. And she's like, and Toyah still doesn't get it and still doesn't get it and then finally gets it. It took her forever. And I'm like, what is going on here?
So quickly then.
No.
And Toyah absolutely loses her shit at this, even more than the last time she lost her shit.
Yeah.
Leanne promises that she only did it because she loves Toyah, but now Toyah, clutching her stomach, doesn't know how she's going to visit Rosie's grave in future and not see Rowan's stupid fucking face. He's in her coffin, he's under the dirt, he's stolen this from her. And this does it for Toyah. She no longer has a sister. Leanne tries to explain this to Nick, but he doesn't recognise her anymore, and when he looks at her with despair and pity, she runs off for a cheeky upload. Meanwhile,
A cheeky upload.
it's the fact that she says, I need to go for an upload.
Yeah.
Could you not just leave and not say the word upload?
Right. Yeah.
No, she's got to say upload.
Yeah, she does.
Meanwhile, Toyah has gone into what I thought was a cafe, but I guess it's the Institute's HQs because it's always the same area that they end up going in that's got all the greenery behind it.
Yeah.
I think it's a cafeteria. I did spend some time looking at the hotels near Salford Quay and the Corey Studios because it looked to me very much like a Holiday Inn. But I couldn't find any confirming photographs. So if anybody does know where the Institute HQ, where Rowan and Toyah had it out, but not like that, please write in to let us know. The talk of the street at gmail.com.
Yes.
So yeah, so Toyah tears a strip of Rowan and warns him that this is now war and he can shove his NDA up his arse.
Right.
Up his arse. She has nothing left to lose, she says. She goes home as Toyah is out to meet Rowan. They must have passed on
In
the
the
way.
night, yes.
Nick doesn't blame her for not forgiving her sister, and to prove how sorry he is, the two of them smooch near the window and then go off
Near
to get
the
their
open
hole.
door to the porch. To the
It's a
balcony.
posh balcony here.
Yeah.
It's like he manoeuvred her to get closer to some place where people could see.
Right. Yeah.
Across the road, in an abandoned building, someone has taken photographs of the tryst.
It's the Texas depository, book depository across the street.
Yes. The show's not called Dealey Plaza. Meanwhile, at the HQ, Leanne is uploading with Rowan. That was fucking great, she says. Rowan claims that he went to the funeral with good intentions, and she tells him that her family's hurting and can't see the good that he's doing for her. She's sure that they'll come round. Back at the flat, Nick and Toyah have had miserable sex with each other.
It's hilarious because they always do this thing when characters have sex on the show where we don't see them have sex. We don't even see them like on the bed together.
No.
We just see them walk out of the bedroom with their pants untucked.
Well,
With their shirt
yeah.
untucked from their pants.
Or a couple of
And-
buttons undone.
Right. Yeah. And typically, they may still be kind of holding on to one another and smooching a bit, but not here.
Or at least wiping some drippage.
Ew, that's gross, man.
Thankfully, we didn't see any of that.
No, but they do both look miserable.
Utterly miserable.
Which begs the question, who's the bad lay? Is it Nick or is it Toyah?
Nick looked guilty. But, he's having sex with somebody that he hasn't had sex with before, and, these things happen. They know it was wrong.
No,
and
they don't.
They know it was wrong and agree it must never happen again. Neither of them want to hurt Leanne. Meanwhile, the photographer, he nips over to the HQ and hands over the images of Nick and Toyah just smooching
Uh-huh.
to Rowan. And Rowan is like a dog with two dicks with us. Perfect, he says. Back at the flat, Sam's looking for Leanne for secretive reasons. And Leanne
Yeah,
isn't about to spill either, but says it's something for Hope.
which is weird.
we don't find
and
out what that is.
Probably a lie. I have a sneaking suspicion, and I hope I'm wrong. Because I haven't seen any spoilers about what it is they're doing. But I have a sneaking suspicion that it has to do with AI and a dead family member. And I hope I'm wrong about that.
Oh, God, yeah.
I hope I'm wrong.
A creepy AI John Stave.
No, a creepy AI Natasha.
What would
Sam's
Hope have to do
mother.
with that, though?
I think Hope is a lie.
Oh, a red herring, if you will?
Yes.
Oh.
I think Leanne is lying about the Hope part.
Oh, well, that's disappointing. An AI John Stave might be quite good fun.
That would be better than
now,
the cutout.
now, creepy AI John Stave, don't go murdering anybody. You hear?
Did they digitize a hammer for him?
Sure. So, Leanne apologises to Toyah, says she was trying to do the right thing, and Nick suggests just drawing a line under it all, so Toyah agrees. So, after burying her dead baby that we didn't know anything about for 20 years and disappointingly getting her whole off of Nick, Toyah then puts in a shift at the bistro. What a busy day. After which, Rowan comes in looking for Leanne. So, Leanne's not there obviously, so Toyah and Rowan spar a bit, and because they're alone, Rowan threatens Toyah that maybe her fight isn't going to be as easy as she thinks. And sure enough, back home with Nick, after Leanne has gone to bed, Toyah receives a text with the photo of her and Nick smooching. I am totally fucked if Leanne finds out, says Nick.
Is he, though?
That's what I keep on thinking to myself, because the kiss could have just been a kiss of condolence, couldn't it? It was on the lips, but...
Or, is he maybe better off without her?
I did think so.
Haven't they kind of broken up and gotten back together and broken up and kind of gotten back together? And didn't he just kind of basically almost nearly throw her out of the house by the whole funeral thing?
If it wasn't for the fact that Leanne said, I would never cheat on you, I'd kind of agree, but now I feel sort of guilty thinking that. And I prefer them to get through this than not. And especially from the miserable way that they had sex with Toyah. It's like, oh geez, sucks to be Nick. Or maybe
it
that's half the
sucks to be
problem.
Toyah. Maybe Toyah's not
You
the
saw
problem.
his face.
Yeah, he was disappointed in himself.
And he apologised.
Yeah, you know what that means.
Mm-hmm. Oops, that's never happened to me before.
Oops, I did it again.
That's never happened to me before, apart from the last time it happened.
5 minutes ago.
Stop crying, Nick. It's all right. Maybe that's a problem. Maybe you're just crying too much.
Stop crying.
Next time you can keep your braces on. On Wednesday. Oh. On Wednesday, Toyah has come to the conclusion that they have to come clean to Leanne about everything, including their miserable hole that they got. Nick agrees but reckons this will only push her closer to the Institute. Toyah is willing to take the blame to save Sam and keep the family together. At the bistro, Rowan shows up and Nick and Toyah shit themselves. Rowan is here for an Institute event, but Nick and Toyah know this is him putting on the pressure. So while Leanne schmoozes with old ladies and cups of tea, who are apparently also involved in this cult, Rowan privately gives Toyah another copy of the NDA to sign, telling her to comply and calling her a fucking hypocrite. Toyah tells him that she'll come clean to Leanne, and Rowan says this will tear her apart and the Institute will just pick up the pieces.
Rowan apparently doesn't know how many times these two sisters have shared a man in the past.
That one time. Later.
It's happened more than once, hasn't it?
No, I just think...
Is it just Peter?
And kind of Imran.
Leanne never dated Imran, did she?
They took him into the bistro and they were both kind of... Well, it kind of looked like they were both wanking them off in the booth. Remember that? Did I dream that?
I think you may have dreamed that.
No, they were playing, they were acting, because Imran was flirting with the two of them. This is how Toyah and Imran started going together, was after that. I may have imagined this. Anyway, so later Rowan gives a speech to the elderly audience about trust and gives Leanne props. She's reached level 5. What does that mean?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Leanne thanks Rowan for her journey and providing a safe space for her. Toyah goes off to vomit. In the office, Toyah's been overthinking this and reckons the Institute won't want the truth about them shagging to come out, so suggests that they keep quiet, and she signs the NDA, which she does. Right there.
Yeah.
In
It's
the
like,
office.
why does she sign the NDA if she figures they're never going to release this evidence anyway, because then Leanne will be mad that they kept it from her.
Right.
And then she signs the NDA anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't
How
make
does that
a
make
huge amount
sense?
of sense.
That
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
But anyway, she signed it, and she hands over the signed document to Rowan, who isn't slimy about it at all, while Leanne celebrates reaching level 5 with some champagne. On Friday, Toyah's had another call from the cops who are coming round again later, and Leanne offers to stay at the flat to give support. So when the copper shows up, he's there to tell her that the CPS won't be pursuing her about the death of Rose, and the case is officially closed. So that's good, isn't it, Helen?
It is good, and it was a very nice police officer in plain clothes who seemed, genuinely a nice guy. It wasn't Kit.
It wasn't Kit.
Yeah.
Leanne
Who's
goes
a
up.
dick.
Leanne goes off to her room for a chat with creepy AI Oliver as Nick comes in and gives Toyah an awkward hug at the good news, because you agreed that this was good news, Helen.
Sure.
Toyah announces that she's going to move out for obvious reasons as soon as she gets a deposit together, but judging how skint she was for the funeral, this might take a while.
You know what she should do? She should get together with Gemma and Chesney.
Yeah, let's throw Toyah in there.
Yeah. She likes kids.
She does like kids. And that's as far as we get
Maybe they could,
with that this week.
Maybe they could get her to adopt one of the quads.
Which one? It doesn't matter. Just
Doesn't
pick
matter,
one.
just pick one.
Pick one.
Not the deaf one, though.
They're
We
all the
need the
same.
deaf one. But the other ones, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter. That one's slightly taller than the other two. Take that one. He's strong. Very strong. So, this storyline then this week. I kind of enjoyed the funeral stuff. I thought that was really moving
It was.
and emotional.
Yes.
Rowan, though, just
Just
showing
totally
up and
ruins
ruining
it.
it.
Totally ruins it.
He's becoming camper and camper as this story progresses, don't you think?
Yes.
He sounded really gay by the end of this week.
Just so we don't get letters, we acknowledge that camp and gay are two different
Things.
Yes.
But he was sounding less camp and more gay by the end of it.
Huh.
I thought so anyway.
He is becoming very mustache twirly.
Mm-hmm.
In
And
like,
he was always quite
like
mustache twirly.
in a fun way, as opposed to Joel's really gross way.
So you wanted to see the cult, Helen, and
That's
asking you may receive, because that's what we saw in the bistro.
it was boring as fuck.
It was 3 old women drinking tea and agreeing with each other. That seemed to be what the cult is. And there was a couple old men there as well who seemed to have wandered in off the street.
Yeah.
But what was really worrying
Was Amy.
was Amy.
It was. I'm so glad that you said that.
Because there was a couple of scenes where Amy was just, you know what? That's
They're very
a
nice
lovely,
people.
lovely man. And they're talking a bit of sense. And look at all the good it's doing for Leanne. That's quite an interesting thing, that.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yes. Keep your hands off of our Amy. She doesn't need to see AI Oliver,
Oh God, no.
who is her brother. Let's remember.
But the fact that this is
I
was
forgot
mentioned
she
a couple of
worked
times.
there. I forgot she had worked at the bistro. I was like, isn't she helping Mary run the flower shop?
Isn't she doing
Isn't
a radio
she-
show?
Isn't she working at Dev's? What's going on here?
No wonder Chesney's skin. Amy's got all the jobs. Well done, Amy. You got to hustle. Always be hustling. Am I right?
Sure.
But yeah, the fact that this was mentioned a couple of times for Amy suggests that she's going to have some part to play in this. And I find it hard to imagine that Amy is going to be the sort of character because, remember, she's a very strong woman.
Yeah, well, so's Leanne. Very strong.
I don't know that Amy will fall for this.
Yeah, it doesn't
in the
feel
same
believable.
way that Leanne has.
Yeah.
Because judging by everyone else in the cult, they're all over 60. Leanne is the youngest person there.
Yeah. No wonder Rowan's so desperate to keep her. What does he do with the rest of... he's so obsessed with Leanne. How does he recruit anybody else to this cult? What is going on?
And where does this Willow character come into it?
Who knows?
She looked AI as well.
Yes. Yes, she did.
We talked about that
We
last
talked
week, didn't
about
we?
this, yes.
So, does it feel like it's been going on long enough now that we can kind of start moving towards a conclusion for it?
Not until I see a white robe
Okay. White robe and some kind
Blood.
of genital tattoos.
and blood.
Okay. All right, then. We shall move on, I think, to our next storyline, which is Chile at number 5. How do we know it's Chile? Because on Tuesday, Chesney has his nipples out. Did you like Chesney's nipples? They're very far apart.
I was trying to look anywhere else on the screen that I possibly could.
He and I do share a very hairless chest, though.
Yes. But you've got a very manly barrel chest.
I thought Chesney's was quite barrel-esque as well.
No.
No?
Not as much as you. And also, you're not nearly as white as he is. You're a robust pink.
It doesn't get a lot of sun.
No.
But I did spit out my peach iced tea when that came up on the screen. I think we've seen Chesney's nipples before. I seem to remember him masturbating Imran, and I'm imagining that as well. Or maybe imagining that, but no, he was on. Remember.
I'm so sorry, Charlie. I had nothing to do with any of this.
Oh, the dreams I have. These are just the ones that I talk about. No, Chesney, I remember, on a couch with an American flag over him. I swear I'm not making this up. I swear I'm not making this up.
You're making this up?
He was, I think...
I do remember Chesney shirtless before, but there were no American flags involved. I think it was one time after he and Gemma had gotten it on,
Yes.
and he's wearing a robe, and she's leaning against him, and his robe is open, so you can see his chest.
There was definitely an American flag.
There's no American flag. Why would there be an American flag anywhere near Chesney?
It was like a blanket or something.
Why would they have an
I
American
don't
flag
know.
blanket?
I don't know.
Why?
Why would I imagine it?
I don't know.
Yes, Charlie, why would I imagine it? Anyway, let's get back to the story. This is longer than Corrie News.
Oh my God.
The boiler's packed in, giving him a cold shower. Gemma gets on the phone to the landlord, which seemed to be news to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. What? What?
This house was repossessed by the council in 1999
Right.
when the Battersbys moved into it.
Right.
Les Battersby didn't own no house.
No.
He was renting that out. And then I think it went into private ownership, but still for a landlord after that. And I remember Chesney and Katie, they had a storyline where he couldn't pay the rent because he was paying vet bills for his Great Dane Schmeichel, and they were threatened with eviction then. So it was still a rented property fairly recently. But they never mentioned the landlord.
They replaced that door.
They did.
They replaced that door, and no
with
landlord
with a farm door.
and no landlord was mentioned, and no landlord came to replace that door.
Right.
But now suddenly they have a landlord who's a dick and not Ed or Gary or something that would make sense, or Debbie.
Debbie, that would have been a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's some new guy, because it's time once again. It's time once again to just press down on the heads of the Winter Browns and remind everybody about how miserable the life of the poor is.
Yeah, as soon as landlord was mentioned, I think we knew where this was going, right?
Yeah.
We knew where that was going. Jem and Chesney, not so much. So to get a wash, Jem and Chesney arranged to take the kids swimming. The engineer has condemned the boiler later and informed the landlord, so it should all be sorted out soon because the landlord is under a legal obligation to take care of this. But the landlord wants a second opinion. It's a boiler, not your prostate, says Bernie, which was hilarious.
It was hilarious.
And she reads a riot act to him, calling him a fucking crook. The landlord enigmatically says that you've helped me make up my mind. And he angrily stomps out.
Right, yeah. And it's like, wait, no. You legally have an obligation here. They can take you to court. They can complain to the council. And yet none of them seem to know that until a little while later.
Gemma and Chesney worry that the landlord stomping out means that he's going to leave the boiler broken for another week. Yes, I'm sure that's what it's about. On Wednesday, Gemma's still fretting about the landlord's mysterious threat from the other day. Joseph, meanwhile, has been happy getting a shower at Dev's. Chesney, who works in a kebab shop, let's remember, hasn't showered in 2 days. The man is being smelled from Balaclava Terrace for the garlic.
Yeah, because Bernie says that he can't shower at Dev's because they're
it's
too close
too
together.
close, right?
But the kids is fine.
Too close a relationship. And his hair's all kind of matted and stuff.
It's gross, man.
Joseph wants to take Ches out for a late Father's Day treat, so that's nice.
Yeah, nobody mentioned Father's Day on this show at all.
No.
Except for this one time.
Later, the boiler's still fucked and Chesney reckons that they could get an electric shower, which would be cheaper. He says this as he eats a kebab for lunch that a customer had left behind.
Which has a new chimichurri sauce on it. Which sounds delightful, but they both act like it's the grossest thing on the frickin' planet.
In the cafe, Joseph sneaks some of his movie money into the family pot and tells him that they have enough money for the new shower now. So Chesney improvises at home later by setting up a projector in the living room and using Asha's Netflix password, they stream a movie onto a blanket. Can you get any cheaper, Chesney?
And the movie is Shrek, even though Joseph wants to see Saw 3.
Why Saw 3?
Which seems to indicate that Joseph has seen Saw 1 and 2.
Saw 1 wasn't too bad. Saw 2, I think, was fairly gross and kind of torture porny. Saw
Right.
1 wasn't. Saw 1 was fine.
Yeah. And then they got better afterwards.
Oh, no.
A little bit. The last one was okay.
Saw X, was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mind that.
The one that was critical of, well, I mean, they're all critical of the U.S. healthcare system. But this one was especially so.
Yeah. On Friday.
Because that's what horror movies are about. Criticizing the government.
On Friday, Gemma is in Nina's Rolls, thrilled to report that the new shower has been installed. Dee Dee, who's there, gives them some free advice that the landlord should be reported to the council, so Gemma gets right on it.
Yeah, which should have happened anyway, already.
Chesney and Gemma at home are worrying about affording shoes when the landlord shows up with Pete. This is Silent Pete. Silent Pete, the boiler maintenance guy. He's there to fix the boiler without saying a word. Oh, and by the way, you're evicted. He's selling up. Who saw that coming? We all saw that coming. Dee Dee comes over to check it all, and it's perfectly legal. It's a no-fault eviction, and Gemma obviously blames Dee Dee and her shitty advice for this. Dee Dee needs to just stop getting involved in her neighbours' stuff.
Right, because
it
they all
always
suck.
Goes, it always
They all
goes wrong.
suck. It's like, why are you blaming Dee Dee when you should have known yourself that you should complain to the council about this? You're an adult. You have 5 kids. You've been renting your whole life. If anything, Bernie should have said to her, you need to go complain to the council. Because I'm sure Bernie has complained to the council a number of times over the years.
Well, Bernie was the only one that was getting righteous indignation about any of this.
Right.
And they were very quick to shut her up.
Right, yeah. They're like just trying very hard not to upset this landlord who's a dick and is not fixing their boiler for a number of days. And they're like, oh, we're so sorry. We're so sorry that you have to be inconvenienced by
But
this.
they don't want that because this happens. He ends up selling up and chucking them out.
Right, yeah. But you know what? He's selling up, which means that was probably in the cards anyway. He wouldn't be selling up just to spite them.
No, that's
It's
what
not-
he said. He said that they've made up his mind.
Right, yeah, but no. Because you don't sell a property just to get back at the people who rent from you. Because that means you no longer have a property to rent and you will be making less money.
Yeah, but he gets the money from the sale.
Right.
And as he said, he's ended up having to spend more money because the world's smallest violin plays for landlords and stuff. But his mortgage has gone up and his outlays have gone up.
Right.
And of course he's passing it on to them.
Right. How long has he owned this property and he still has a mortgage on it?
Maybe 10 years-ish. So yes, that checks it. Anyway, Gemma and Chesney are fucked. This is what happens when he exposes his man nipples to people. Then later, Carol Ann, an Oak Hill parent of a child named Ollie, drops Joseph off, and it becomes clear from what she says to Chesney that Joseph has been lying about Chesney's job and his gourmet food empire. Joseph apologises, but Chesney recognises that he's an embarrassment. Joseph lies and says that that's not the case, and Chesney says that he could never get in front in life, but Joseph can be that guy, and he should be the cunt evicting people in future.
Right, yeah, it's like, that's a really weird thing to say there, Chesney. That's a really weird thing to say there, pal.
When Bernie comes in, Chesney runs
the
up...
part about being a loser, that's fine. Although maybe you don't say that to your son.
No.
Poor Joseph was so traumatized by that whole thing.
At least Chesney wasn't drunk. When Bernie comes in, Chesney runs upstairs in tears. Bernie takes Joseph for a cuppa to cheer him up and talks about a time that Paul ignored her when he was with his mates. He was 28 years old. Joseph says that he's not ashamed of Chesney and Ollie's mum just assumed because they go to Oak Hill, and the people that go to Oak Hill tend to be the people that own businesses, not working businesses. Bernie thinks Chesney would appreciate hearing this. So at home, Chesney's worrying about rent and deposits and commuting when Joseph comes back and puts the record straight. More than that, he wants to invite Ollie round for dinner tomorrow, but warns Chesney that Ollie has a seed allergy.
He can't eat seeds.
Let's guess where this is going to go.
And that includes wheat and rice. So he can't eat grains. He's got a gluten allergy.
Secretly, Chesney's worried about the cost of this extra mouth to feed while Gemma adds to his load by saying, according to Dee Dee, they have no eviction rights whatever. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yeah.
Sharon Nemo on Twitter wrote to say that Granny Linda or Dev will probably come to the rescue. In real life, Gemma and Chesney would both be on universal credit top-ups, local housing allowance and Band-Aid top priority for social housing once the eviction order gets stamped. So in other words, it would probably work out for them.
Because they have 5 kids.
And maybe they'll get a house that's more than a 2 up, 2 down.
Right, because they have 5 kids.
Five kids, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In reality, that would happen.
So, hey, this could be the best thing that happens to them. Although maybe they would end up having to move out of the area, but this might be the best thing that happens to them.
What will become of the big, massive fridge?
Oh, no!
Because the big, massive fridge is getting evicted as well.
I didn't think about that. I wonder if it's still...
And that's another thing, too. If they had a landlord, the landlord should have been the one replacing the refrigerator when it broke.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Although I think they all enjoyed the fact that it would just spit ice cubes up randomly throughout the day. But yeah, just more
poverty porn.
More poverty porn heaped onto Chesney. It was actually quite moving hearing him say that he never gets in front, he's always chasing. That was a kind of sad reality there, wasn't it?
It was.
This is something that we've, we're kind of light-hearted about this in previous episodes and over the years and stuff, but...
I would say lighthearted. I would say frustrated.
But the situation is like this for millions of people where they kind of struggle to get ahead, and every time they kind of look like they're getting ahead, something happens to knock them all back again.
Yeah, but again, I guess Bernie doesn't really live there anymore. She's shacked up with Dev, but
right.
They have like 5 jobs between them, and there are people who they work with on the street who never seem to be in this situation, who only have like 1 or 2 jobs.
Yes, the Winter Browns are the ones that are designated to be,
and that's frustrating.
The the Tiny Tims of the street.
Yeah. And that's frustrating. And should maybe stop.
Hasn't happened for a little while, but it's always at the back of your mind that it's just a matter of time before something else happens.
Yeah.
And here they are. This is probably the biggest issue, losing their house. Because the reality that was kind of described to us by Sharon Nemo probably won't happen.
I thought for sure Chesney bought that house.
With what?
I don't know. Or he inherited it or something.
No, he's been living there since...
He's been living there forever.
Yeah, but while Les was renting it from the council. So it was never anybody else's to inherit it from.
Yeah. But it did seem like he inherited it, which would imply that there is no rent to pay anymore. I don't know. This whole thing is just frustrating. But anyway. And wouldn't happen exactly like this in real life, as has been pointed out by our intrepid listener.
Joseph is and continues to be an absolute delight.
Yes.
He's settling in well at Oak Hill. He's making friends. He's quite happy to bring this Ollie character over for dinner. And so he should.
Yeah.
Because Chesney makes a great burger. Or have we forgotten about that?
Yeah, unfortunately,
Do you know,
he must serve it without a bun.
where is Wendy's list of things that the show has forgotten about?
Right, because that's definitely one of them. Chesney's dream of owning his own restaurant.
Number 17. Chesney's dream of owning a burger joint. There we go. That's made it to the list. Are you happy now, show?
Yes.
It's made it on the Wendy's list.
Yes. Is it really just Wendy's list?
Yeah. She came up with all that by herself.
Right, yeah, but you keep adding to it.
By herself.
It's Wendy and Gav's list
No.
now.
No. But yeah, he's quite happy to bring Ollie round. He's not embarrassed at all by the house, which generally
It's fine.
isn't untidy.
No.
It's got a fridge in the living room.
Right.
But
And there's a lot of stuff, but there are a lot of people living
there's 7
there.
heartbeats in that house.
Yeah. It's fine. Joseph's freckles, man.
Oh my God.
So cute. So cute. I just
Freckle Central, seriously.
want to adopt him every day.
Yeah, he's a good wee boy.
Yes.
And it's... I was a little concerned when Chesney lost his cool a bit, because this is the sort of thing that sticks with a kid. These are the conversations that kids kind of remember.
He seemed very traumatized by it, and my heart broke for him when he kind of just fell into Bernie's lap, just bawling his poor wee little eyes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wee shame. All right, let's move on to our next story, which is Summer's return. On Tuesday at the God Flat, Paul is using the eye gaze technology to badmouth weirdo Felix and his stupid water bottle, when guess what? Summer and Felix and his water bottle come in. Felix and his water bottle make their excuses and leave, clearly hurt. And later, Summer speaks with Paul, who apologises. She asks what he doesn't like about Felix, and Paul breaks down. And rather than waiting to hear what he's got to say, she rushes out, leaving Paul to explain to Billy that the problem isn't really Felix.
She doesn't rush out. She just calls Billy.
But then she
still
leaves.
There.
No, she leaves.
I thought for sure she was there, like hovering behind Billy.
She left because she thought that she got Paul all upset.
Yeah, well, do you think that the way to make Paul not upset is to leave?
No, that makes things worse.
Has Bangs made her brain shrivel up?
I think she looks a little bit like Kaylee Cuoco. Is that her name?
Yes.
Penny from The Big Bang Theory. Wear hair like that.
Sure.
I think she does. So yeah, Paul explains to Billy that Felix isn't really the problem. It's the fact that he won't be around to see her Summer get married. So Summer goes and
But
tries her
Felix
luck
is a dick.
with another dad. She complains that she's going to have to dump Felix because Paul is more important, although it sounds like Felix is about to head back to the States soon anyway. Wait a minute, he's American?
He's not American. We do not claim this man.
He was sounding a bit scouse this week.
We sounded like Werner Herzog last week.
I know. Tell me the story about the squirrel and fill my water bottle. So Summer meets Felix in the bistro and is about to dump his ass when Paul and Billy arrive, and Paul, through his eye gaze technology thing, apologises to Felix and asks to start again. Felix is happy to accept. After dinner, Paul hangs back with Summer and explains why he was so upset. He just wants her to be happy. And Summer's like, I ain't getting married now anyway, I'm 19.
Right.
Which I think is missing the point, but anyway.
Right, yes. But is probably the most grown-up thing we've heard Summer ever say. Because wasn't she engaged to what's his name? The one who raped Amy?
Aaron.
Yeah, they were engaged at one point, weren't they?
Were they?
After he knocked her up. Didn't he propose to do the right thing?
No, I can't remember.
I don't remember.
On Wednesday, Felix is gone and Summer is a mess and wants to talk to Paul about long-distance relationships. So, she was worried about dumping him, then chose not to dump him, and you left anyway.
Yeah, because he was leaving anyway.
Anyway. Paul's nurse comes in to chat about his recent fall down the stairs, and Paul downplays it, but then Billy comes in, and Paul seems to reckon that Billy was the one that grassed him up to the occupational health people.
Yeah.
The nurse doesn't think the flat is safe for him anymore, and they've got to take this seriously.
Well, she doesn't think the stair lift is safe for him anymore.
Billy apologises to her for some reason, and the nurse promises to come back at a later date to do a proper assessment. When she's gone, Paul accuses Billy of enjoying his deterioration and making decisions for him, and Summer is shocked. But Nina's rolls later, Paul discovers from a wandering gadass that she was the one who called the occupational therapist. She warned Paul...
Because it's her job to do so.
She warned Paul that she was going to do it, and he agreed to it, and he seemed quite happy about it, and she sent him a letter. Oh, how very fucking hell, says Paul. So back home, Paul has got Summer to set some traps in the flat while he apologises to Billy for being a dick. Billy pretends to be fine about it, which makes Paul cry. When Billy goes to the drawers and cabinets, they're full of apologetic post-it notes, and this prompts Billy to tell Paul how he felt. He was betrayed, hurt and angry, and he doesn't want to look back later and remember feeling this way, and so they make up properly, but not like that.
No.
And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yeah. Paul seems to be really declining quickly.
Very quickly.
Yeah. I don't like it.
Because I think this was the first time his speech just wasn't working.
Yeah.
And he had to go to the eye gaze thing.
Yeah.
I think he was kind of overwhelmed by everything that was going on as well.
Yeah.
It was
I didn't like the fact that the eye gaze thing seemed to malfunction as a comedy bit.
Yeah.
I thought that was in poor taste. Where it says, fucking Felix over and over and over again.
It was
That
pretty funny.
Dumbass Felix.
With stupid
With his
water bottle.
Stupid fucking water. The way he refills it right there at the table
With the craft.
at the bistro. It's like, come on, man.
Even Summer's looking at him and going, what the fuck are you doing?
And I mean, I know, I get it. We Americans are very obsessed with hydration.
He's not American.
Yeah, but the show wants us to think he's American.
I don't know if it does. I honestly don't know.
He at least lives in America, so he's learned our ways. So I get it. It's hilarious. Haha. Americans and their water bottles. But still.
He reminds me of the character in Friends who was was he a jogger or something? He was going out with Phoebe and he never wore underpants, but he always wore baggy shorts, so you could kind of look up the leg and see the mouse outside the house kind of thing.
Yes.
Kind of reminds me a bit of him. I don't know what the post-it notes were supposed to do, but I don't know, did they work?
They seemed to work because Billy finally opened up.
Yeah.
And admitted that his feelings were hurt. Because he would have never admitted his feelings were hurt if it weren't for the Post-it notes.
Yeah.
But you know what the Post-it notes made me think of? The Fall Guy. And the fact that, what's his name? His character had Post-it notes all over his apartment.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
And also Memento.
Two very
Very
similar
different
movies. Mhm.
Both movies I am fond of.
This is still kind of Billy's fault, though, because he took his eye off the ball with Paul, and that's why Paul fell out of his little stair lift anyway.
Yeah, because Billy had to go back in the apartment for something stupid.
So that's Felix gone. Kind of glad to see the back of him, but
But
presumably
it's
he'll be
ridiculous
back.
because he just showed up and now he's gone again. I don't know. He is a big holiday. He is a big Hollywood star, so
Oh, he was in Cloud Atlas, wasn't he?
yes, he was
Yeah.
in Cloud Atlas.
Presumably as a child.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
It was a number of years ago when Cloud Atlas was made into a movie starring one Tom Hanks.
I haven't seen it.
Me neither.
Any intention of seeing it?
No.
No.
I did like the book though.
I haven't read that either.
It's one of those things that you're like, does it make sense to make this into a movie?
Well, let's see if this storyline could be made into a movie. It's Ken Commode.
No.
On Tuesday, Ken has not been a good patient, and he
No.
hates being mollycoddled by the family, and he's sick of sleeping in Amy's room with all her posters of Ryan Duckling. That was funny.
It was funny that he said Ryan Duckling. Speaking of the Fall Guy, starring Ryan Gosling.
And when he hears that they have a rota and the hoops that they all have to jump through to keep it, he blows a fuse. He'd rather blow his savings on the professional carer, which gives Daniel the fear for some reason. In the pub later, Steve is damned if he's going to let Ken pay for the carer or let Amy spend Granny Deirdre's money on it. And Cassie, in the next door booth, she hears this and offers her services. She's not qualified,
As a carer.
but she is cheap, and this floats Steve's boat. She's hired. Cassie is thrilled.
Isn't it
Steve
Daniel?
is regretting it already.
Yeah. Steve takes some convincing, but Daniel, like, right away is like, oh yeah, this is a great idea. This is the best idea we've ever had.
Because what did Daniel do for childcare, remember?
Ken.
Gemma.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't care about qualifications for this
He
sort
really
of thing,
does.
as
Or
long as it's
certification.
cheap.
Right, yeah.
As long as it's cheap. Are you insured? Nope, doesn't matter, as long as
Fine.
you're cheap.
It's fine.
On Wednesday, before Cassie's even started, Steve has made a list of household chores for her to do. Ken is under the impression Cassie is working for an agency, and no one disabuses him with this. Cassie is more interested in raking around the drawers and cabinets than giving Kenny's meds when she shows up. She finds Deirdre's old glasses and takes a piss out of them, and then it comes out that she doesn't work for an agency at all and hasn't had any formal training. Ken is fucking furious
He is.
and fires her.
On the spot.
Meanwhile, Steve is cleaning a cock off his taxi, and Cassie explains the lay of the land to him. She'll take 30 quid for her partial shift. When Steve gets home with falafel balls, Ken wants to know why Steve wouldn't let him use his money to get a proper carer. Steve tells him that he needs that money for a rainy day. The man's in his 90s.
I think his day has rained.
Ken sends him packing. So Cassie goes back to number one to retrieve a purse that she claims she left behind and makes a pitch to be Ken's carer again. She helps him through to the living room and explains that she has some experience in caring because she looked after her ex or something who had a motorcycle accident.
Something like that.
She makes Ken a cuppa, and then she says that letting people help is a kindness, not just for the person, but for yourself.
Yes.
And this new age bullshit is exactly Ken's language. Cassie is rehired, and this time Ken's paying.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true. You know, I've been in situations before where I haven't wanted help. I'm embarrassed to take help. And then someone said to me, you know, you are denying people the ability to bless you and for you to bless them. It is a blessing, you know, they want to help you, and that is a blessing. And in return, you're blessing them. And so you should let people help you. And it's true, because when I help other people, I feel better about myself. And so I am blessed when I help others. And they are blessed because I have helped them.
Eloquent.
Yeah.
On Friday,
I got there in the end.
Cassie and Evelyn.
It's very hot in here.
Cassie and Evelyn is getting more hotter with the hot air that's coming for you, I tell you.
Right, yeah. And not you having fantasies about masturbation for some reason.
That happened twice. On Friday, Cassie and Evelyn are in Nina's roles, and Evelyn is taking the piss out of Cassie's new job. Cassie insists that she's good with people. Yeah, smackheads, says Evelyn. Cassie seems determined to do a good job, though. Meanwhile, Steve is trying to arrange a better carer, but Ken insists that he wants Cassie and her boobs. Cassie, who now has a key to number one.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good idea.
No, shows up for her shift, all bright and breezy until Steve directs her to work on Ken's corns and toenails. But later, Ken suggests that they head out for lunch because Cassie is doing such a great job. So when Steve and Amy get home, there's no one there, and he assumes Cassie's bunking off, but then the two of the wanderers return after a grand day out. Steve is gutted as Ken goes for a well-earned lie down, and Amy thinks Steve and Cassie have a little bit of a spark going on between them, which reminds her of a certain relationship that he had with a certain Tracy.
Yes.
Steve poo-poos this notion, but not quite. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yeah.
Steve and Cassie?
Well, we've already seen this like almost happen at the speed dating thing.
But Cassie was not
Yeah,
interested.
she knocked him back.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know.
Steve's still butthurt about that.
Yeah, I think that's what it is he's still butthurt about that. But who knows? Maybe something will happen because Amy spoke it into existence. But also, Cassie is totally going to steal Ken's meds.
Yes. Is that what she's stealing something?
She's stealing something. She's got a key now, so she's got to.
Is it the meds, do you think? Is that the top
And
of the
probably
list?
some money and Deidre's glasses. Because she's into vintage now.
So it would seem she is. She's still a nasty bit of work, though, right?
Yes,
And I believe that she was the one that drew the cock on Steve's taxi.
probably. Although apparently there was something even worse on the other side, by which I imagine it's a vagina on the other side. According to Bernie, there's something on the other side that's not a penis.
Yeah, I maybe thought boobs.
Maybe boobs and a vagina.
Tits, bum, fanny, the lot.
They tend to come together.
So I hear.
You don't have one without the other.
So, Ken's getting a storyline, everybody.
Yeah, because apparently that whole storyline we were supposed to get where he's in a relationship with that lady that he meets once
Helen Lederer, what happened to her?
is not happening.
We're asking for like the fourth week on the bounce.
Yeah. Can we get back to that, please? Instead of Cassie taking advantage of him because he's an old man.
Yeah, I don't like seeing elder abuse.
No.
And if this is the way that's going, I really don't need to see that, and especially
No.
for someone like Ken.
Yeah.
Lord knows that we have our problems with Ken
Ken.
Barlow, but still, nobody wants to see that. I'm curious as well why Daniel's so interested in how Ken spends his money. He's independently wealthy thanks to his mother's house, isn't he?
He's probably spent it on chunky jewelry for Bethany.
That would take a lot of money, right enough. She was wearing exceptionally chunky jewellery this week.
And big boots.
Big Dr. Martin boots.
Yes.
That's what it looked like anyway.
Yeah.
Like a pair of Doc Martens.
Me too.
I wonder if she's got 10 holers or 16 holers.
I don't know.
16 holers were... Those were the promised land when I was a child.
Yeah.
My mum only let me get 8 holers. Not even 10 holers, 8 holers. And I tell you,
What did the police say?
before playtime at school, you had to change out of your indoor shoes into your outdoor shoes, and lacing up those Doc Martens took practically the whole of the playtime period.
That's why I don't wear mine very often. 'Cause you
Yeah.
know, you bought me those ones with the little skulls on them, which are very cute, but it takes forever to get them on and off. Plus, you know, I am kind of Imelda Marcos when it comes to shoes.
Yes. And politics.
Oh, no!
Let's move on then. Let's move on, Imelda, to our penultimate storyline, Meet the Parents. On Friday, Dee Dee is worried about her engagement ring getting damaged, which seems to be an excuse for her to look at her engagement ring. Joel is quiet on the matter, blaming not telling his parents for squashing his enthusiasm, but in the meantime, he's off to see his kid, who probably doesn't exist. She tells Ed about this and wishes there was something that she could do, so Ed suggests that she sets up a meeting with Joel's parents. Where does Ed get these ideas from?
I don't know. He's just very wise.
Yes, set up a secret meeting with Joel's parents. That'll fix things. Dee Dee doesn't want to go behind Joel's back and is worried about how this is going to turn out, rightfully worried about how it's going to turn out. But Ed sees this as how the plot must go,
Yes.
so suggests accompanying her just to make things worse. Meanwhile, Joel is outside the cop shop where he runs into Sabrina, who we haven't seen in ages.
I know.
And it turns out Gav's been arrested.
Again.
So Joel offers
For
his
something
services.
he didn't do.
Of course he didn't do. What happened to his window cleaning round?
Well, that was just a plot device for him to see Tracy naked.
Oh, yeah.
Only it was Tim.
So Joel offers his services, gives Sabrina his card, but has his special phone number written on it, just as a wee blonde lassie shows up that's Sabrina's friend, and they go into the cop shop, and this just seems to get Joel all a quiver. When he gets home, Dee Dee has arranged a meeting with his mum, and we can tell that he hasn't been to see his daughter as we suspected. Dee Dee tells him that he has a wee surprise for him tomorrow because he doesn't know about this secret meeting.
Right.
How's that going to turn out?
Well,
But that's as far as we get with that this
I
week.
think something's going to come out.
Oh, what do you think?
Oh no, that he doesn't have a child and that he hasn't been married. Oh no, they do know that there's something about the marriage that he had before that she doesn't know about, or that the woman that she met who claims to be Joel's ex-wife isn't really Joel's ex-wife, or something else.
How did we meet Joel's ex-wife?
She burst into the bistro. No.
Yeah, she did. She burst into the bistro while Joel was meeting a client. And I think Alia reported back in it.
Yeah.
So the ex-wife is legitimate, I think.
There
I'm not sure
is
that the kid is.
There is an ex-wife.
I also think that there is a kid who just doesn't go to see her.
There is an ex-wife because the terrible mum mentions her by name,
Yeah.
but I am not sure that the woman that we've met claiming to be the ex-wife is the ex-wife.
Oh, that's confusing.
Yeah,
That's arguably too confusing for Coronation Street.
maybe.
I think that was the wife. I think there is a child. I think Joel has not met that child. Because whenever he goes to see the child, he's always on his own, and we never see that. Albeit that would be
Or
fairly boring. But
Creepily hanging out outside the cop shop
yeah. Instead of going to see
looking
his kid.
for weak young women,
I
which
did not-
Sabrina is not.
Yeah, I did not like the way he was looking at Sabrina, but
No.
if he's thinking about trying his shite on her, I think
Yeah, he'll have fucked up
Yeah.
big time.
But then the other little blonde thing came along,
Right.
who's more, I don't know.
And we don't know her name, so it'll be fine if she gets abused.
Sadly, yes. And how quick we kind of, you almost forget about the horrible, horrible stuff that Joel has done because he's not been in it for a couple of weeks. They kind of tone it down. He only turns up on Friday this week.
And we don't have to see his tongue this week.
Oh, thank goodness. I really don't like Ed's advice, but as he said himself,
I don't care.
this is where the plot's going and there's no getting round about it.
Right,
So.
yeah.
Oh, well.
I don't care.
Let's move on to our final storyline tonight.
If
which
it
is,
weren't for Ed, she wouldn't have gotten back together with that creep because of Ed's terrible advice.
Yeah, his vested interest in the whole thing.
Right.
Let's talk about Videodrone, our
Yeah.
final storyline for the evening on
Thank God.
Tuesday. It's not getting any cooler in here. In Nina's roles, we learn that Bethany is in the running for a magazine job. Abby comes into Nina's roles and asks her and Sarah if they've seen Max, as she wants to thank him for his help with the deep fakes. What an odd thing to say, says Sarah. Later at home, Bethany reveals that she got the job, but she's unhappy about the assignment she's been given. And she goes to the garage to speak with Abi about that job and the assignment, which is to be a pro-ITV Corey article and how the broadcasters are cowardly for cancelling it.
How can you be pro-murder?
Bethany says that she'll turn down the article, but at Abby's request, she looks to see who owns the magazine, and well, fuck me timbers, it's ITV Stefan, ITV Corey's dad.
Which we should have figured out long before now.
But wait a minute. ITV Stefan was arrested when they picked up ITV Corey,
Right.
trying to smuggle ITV Corey out
Out
of
of
the country.
Yeah.
You don't get the jail for that?
Well, yeah, you don't have your assets taken away?
No. You just carry on
Or
as
at
usual.
least frozen?
Later, Abi and Kev explain this to Debbie. Abi wants to smash ITV Stefan's stupid fucking face in, but Kev urges calm. Abi, though, is worried the article will get the documentary back on screens.
Which I don't think will happen.
I don't think somebody's going to commission something, cancel it, and then uncancel it.
No. Unless it's Family Guy.
Yes.
There
That's
is-
because Seth MacFarlane
There is precedent.
begs.
There is precedent.
Yes, the Family Guy protocol. On Wednesday, Kev's doing the dishes. I'm calling it now.
Boy moment of the week.
Kev doing dishes is our boring moment of the week. Abi hasn't slept a wink thanks to ITV Stefan, but when he goes out for brekkie, she's immediately on the computer. She meets Kev in the cafe later and shows him what she's found. It turns out ITV Stefan is on the board of the documentary makers, would you believe it? And now Abi reckons that he's behind the deepfake pornos of her and her floof.
It's not her floof.
No, it's not her floof.
It's just her face.
Whose floof is it?
It's yours.
Oh dear.
You're the only one I know with a tattoo down there, except for Leanne. Swain.
So at the co-op shop, after Abby's tip-off, Swain has brought ITV Stefan in for questioning. Back at the garage, Abby is chatting to Bethany and her chunky
No,
jewellery
you were right the first time.
about ITV Stefan getting lifted. But then Kev comes along to report that ITV Stefan is out and about, released after questioning, and that Abby is crushed and goes to the cop shop to complain
Crushed like?
Rana.
Okay.
Swain explains that he was never under arrest and they don't have any evidence. Abby tells her that they had a motive. Swain says that's not evidence and wants her to stay away from ITV Stefan.
Right, yeah. Abby points out that he has motive, and so they should investigate further to find evidence. And Swain says, yeah, we just decided not to.
We don't have the resources because Tinker's eating a cake at the moment and
He offered us all of his computers and stuff, and we said, nah, that's fine. We don't really need to look into this.
we don't have enough PowerPoints to plug them in. So you can see our dilemma, Abby, can't you? Between Craig and his cakes and not having enough power outlets. So, rather than doing that, she storms into ITV Stefan's office. He expected her. He
Sooner.
expected her much earlier. She accuses him of making the deep fakes in retaliation for pulling the documentary. ITV Stefan denies it and says that he'll fight to get the doc back on the air. Abby,
He denies it in a weird way, though. Because if he didn't do it, and he is a person who doesn't know Abby, and the deepfakes haven't been in the news, you'd think he would have said, what are you talking about? What deepfakes? He doesn't do that. He just says, no, I didn't do it.
oh yeah, that was weird. Well, maybe the police have spoken to him about it. when he
Okay,
got
well,
lifted.
that's true. Yeah, that's...
Abby promises to find proof of his involvement. ITV Stefan calls security and she leaves. Remember the good old days when ITV Stefan had a panic alarm fitted in his office?
Yeah.
Doesn't have that anymore.
Yeah, remember the good old days where he used to enter a room dramatically? He doesn't do that at all.
He kind of left the cop shop a
That
little.
doesn't count. That's not entering a room. If it's not entering a room, I'm
I
not
know,
interested.
I know.
I need to see him enter a room dramatically. Give us what we want, Corey. That's the only reason for ITV Stefan to come back, is to enter rooms.
She goes to the pub and sees an article online about ITV Corey and Bethany's issue of Seriously?
Yeah, but Bethany didn't write it.
When Bethany comes in, Abby accuses her of being a heartless cow for writing for Seriously. Bethany says she's got nothing to be ashamed of and she didn't write the article. Kev pulls Abby off
But not like that.
and drags her back to work. Bethany goes to the garage and promises to quit, but thinks it might be useful for her to be a mole on the inside, working against ITV Stefan. Abby doesn't care. She misses the old her sometimes because the new her caves. The old her gets out of her tits on the muck and forgets. So Kev goes to Bethany and asks her for the pass for her work so that he can go a snooping. And Bethany hands it over.
Yeah. Why on earth would Bethany's pass work for ITV Stefan's office, though?
For a moment, I thought
I'm-
that she handed over a physical key, and I was like, you've been working there for a day and they've given you the keys to the place? Sure.
It's a pass.
That jewellery is very chunky, but yeah, it was just a pass. Bethany goes to the garage to get her pass back in the morning from Kev. He's already done his nefarious bits and pieces,
Right.
and thankfully we haven't seen any of it.
No, not
because
yet.
none of it makes sense. He keeps his cards close to his chest as Abi shows up wondering what Bethany wanted, and he makes up some bullshit and gives Abi the day off. Then he goes into the salon to speak with Max and to get a wash and blow dry. He's stolen a phone from ITV Stefan's office and asks Max if he can break into it and find something juicy, because Max is the NSA now. Back at the garage though, someone has sent another video to them, and this time it's not fake Abi porn, it's real Kev theft from ITV Stefan's office. Tyrone is confused, but thinks the way that they received it is like how they received the deep fakes. Kev plays along that this is a fake and encourages Tyrone just to forget it. Meanwhile, Max is at home talking to a mate on his phone about getting into the phone that Kev stole, but is overheard by Bethany, who quickly deduces that this is to do with Kev and ITV Stefan's office. She says that hacking into phones is illegal, and she takes the phone from Max and goes to speak to Kev about it and tells him to keep Max out of this. So Kev's now got the phone again, and Kev goes to see ITV Stefan. An innocent man would have called the police, says Kev, and he tells
How
ITV
did
Stefan
Kev get smart for
to
a
start
second?
talking.
Kev is smart now.
Well, these are the rules of the street. An innocent man would have gone to the police.
Yeah, no, the rules of the street is snitches get stitches.
This is day 2 of schooling from the streets. He accuses ITV Stefan of being behind the deep fakes again, and ITV Stefan mocks Kev and challenges him to get into the phone. Oh, I'll get into it, says Kev, because he's the NSA now. Return it, says ITV Stefan, and I'll delete the footage. Kev reckons that he'll get into the phone and doesn't care about going to prison. ITV Stefan wonders if his relationship with Abi would survive that. Meanwhile, Tyrone is blabbering to PC Tinker about the Kev video, and Abi happens to be there to hear about it. Tinker wants to see the video while Abi quietly shits herself a wee bit, because I think she suspects that something's going on here with Kev. When Kev gets home, he finds PC Tinker in his house, waiting to see this new video, and PC Tinker, I swear to God, it looks like he's about to pee himself. He's kind of shifting about from side to side in his seat.
He seems very awkward sitting in a chair.
Yeah. When Kev is shifty as fuck, which PC Tinker doesn't notice, Kev doesn't want to pursue this and chucks Tinker out. Abi wants to know what the fuck this was all about, but Kev sticks to his guns. It's nothing for her to worry about. He does, however, come clean to Tyrone about how keen ITV Stefan was to get his phone back and is willing to delete the footage. Tyrone reckons this is a great deal, and Abi has had it tough enough without him being behind bars, which is what ITV Stefan basically said. So Kev goes back to see ITV Stefan with a different deal. Kev keeps the phone, but doesn't take it to the police if ITV Stefan pays for Abi's deepfakes to be removed from the internet, and he keeps the CCTV. This is mutual assured destruction. It's also
Stupid as
stupid
fuck.
as fuck. So long as you pay 60 grand a year, I won't give this phone to the police, is basically what Kev's saying.
Meanwhile, unbeknownst to both of them, nobody's breaking into that phone because Bethany has confiscated the phone from Max.
Oh, she gave it back to Kev.
Did she give it back to Kev?
Yeah, he's in possession of the phone.
How did I miss that?
No idea.
Because the whole time watching
And
this,
I
I'm
also
like,
said it in my notes.
I'm finding it hilarious because, but wait, no, because why would she give it back to Kev when she knows it's Stefan's phone?
She doesn't want it. It's got nothing to do with her.
I'm so confused. But anyway,
I'm
the
also
whole thing is
confused
stupid.
that ITV Stefan isn't curious to check the security logs to see who swiped into his office
Right.
last night and say, oh, Bethany. That's interesting.
Bethany who? Who is this Bethany?
She's the one with the chunky jewellery. Oh, Bethany.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know who you mean. Surprised she doesn't break her neck. There seemed to be a scene missing here where we get to know what's on this phone that's so precious.
Right.
Because it's got nothing to do with the deep fakes, because I don't think ITV Stefan's got anything to do with that now. But what's on this phone, we don't know. But Kev seems to be absolutely sure that there's something that's worth at least 60 grand a year of ITV Stefan's money that ITV Stefan seems to be quite happy to go along with. Because he's keeping the CCTV that'll put Kev to jail.
Is he part of this whole grooming ring as well?
And ITV Stefan said the police need a warrant to get into that, which is absolutely true.
Yes.
And to get a warrant, they need to have some reasonable suspicion that there's something in it
Right.
to get, and they don't have either of those
There
things.
are other ways to expose whatever's on that phone than just the police. I'm sure that there are other members of the media who would like to take Stefan down a peg or two out in the world.
When he gets home, Kev's dinner's in the dog, and he insists to Abi that there's nothing to
It's in
report
the
to
dog?
That's a phrase. Where's your dinner? Where's my dinner? It's in the dog. And he insists to Abi that there's nothing to report to the cops and promises everything will be fine. Abi doesn't appreciate being frozen out and goes to bed, leaving Kev standing like a plum at the fridge. And that's how we end this week's episodes.
That I've eaten. Forgive me. They were so sweet and so cold.
Yes. Look at you quoting poetry. Or reciting poetry.
Same thing.
Reciting sounds better.
Sure.
Please make this make sense. Give us that scene that is obviously missing that kind of puts context round about
Well,
this.
I think we're going to get that scene next week
Why would we?
because Kev will finally figure out how to get into that phone. Max will come back over or something. Or Max's mate will call back.
Why are we not telling Abi any of this just
I don't-
because she would go mental and kick ITV Stefan's head in? Or
Well, why would she kick ITV Stefan's head in if we don't know what's on this phone?
But I think we're all
I think
sure
she
now that
would
there's
be-
no deep fakes
I think-
here.
Are we?
Well, why is he going to pay 60 grand a year to remove something?
I don't know. I don't really care.
Well,
I really
for the
don't care
purposes of this podcast,
about this storyline
please
at all.
pretend.
It's too hot to care. It's dumb, and it's getting dumber all the time. It was bad enough when it's like, oh, look, they're doing the deep fake porn storyline again.
I want to know.
Because let's kick Abi while she's down.
I want to know, Councillor Len Peagate, whatever his name was. I want to know what he was doing on the night in question. He was responsible for the Maria deepfakes, remember?
Right, yeah, but what does he have against Abi?
He's got form.
That doesn't make any sense.
And maybe he just likes the cut of Abby's jib.
Has he ever met Abi? I don't
Nope.
think so.
Nope. But he'd only really met Maria a couple of times.
They've lost me because ITV Stefan is not entering rooms, and also because they're making it all twisty and they're adding shit to this when we all know that whoever did it was somebody related in some way to ITV Corey, somebody who had a stake in that documentary. So it's either ITV Corey in jail or a friend of his out in the real world, or ITV Stefan and one of his cronies out in the real world. I want to know how he's not getting dinged for being unethical by using his publication to write puff pieces about his son in prison.
I don't know if
And
that's unethical.
what exactly does it say? Does it say, oh, well, yes, he did murder somebody, but he didn't mean it? What does the article say? Because we don't know what the article says
We don't know what the article
at all.
says.
And who is Max Powell, who can break into phones?
I think that's Gav.
And who figures out VPNs? Well, it can't be Gav because Gav's in jail again.
Seriously.
Maybe that's
This
why
is all
Gav's in jail.
this is
or
all falling to
is
pieces.
Gav in jail? Because it was really weird because Sabrina's like, oh, I'm here because my brother's in jail. And she's just hanging out there. And then this blonde girl comes out and they go into the cop shop together. Is the blonde girl Gav's girlfriend?
I think so.
Is that the girlfriend that Max mistook Sabrina for? And we're finally getting to see her and we're not acknowledging that that's who she is and she
Oh,
doesn't get to talk.
What was her name? Molly Malone or something like that, wasn't it? That was Molly Malone.
There's so many things. There's so many things that are just not fully explained or explored this week. And in fairness, we do have to have these weeks that are kind of bridges to other things. And I get it. But it wasn't a great week this week. And I just, this storyline in particular just really exhausts me.
See, I'm getting a bit of enjoyment out of it because Kev is so out of his depth in understanding any of this technology. And I'm getting a little bit of joy from that. Because Kev's pretending that he knows what a VPN is. And Kev pretends that he knows how to hack into a phone that doesn't require a saw. So that's quite amusing to me. I kind of don't understand an awful lot about it, but I don't understand why he's keeping Abi out of it. I don't really have a problem with the conflict of interest between the paper and the documentary firm, because newspapers are sleazy like that, and magazines are doubly so. So
I think the whole reason why he's keeping Abi out of it is because he is Kev. He is Kev. He likes to white knight things. He doesn't want her back on the muck, and he doesn't want her back in jail. So he's taking this on.
When she said that she misses the old her that would just get wasted and forget all about it. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what he's here in his mind.
I don't think he's trying to shield her. He just wants to do all of this himself.
Oh, so I was about to give him credit for something that
Why would you?
He
It's
doesn't
Kev.
deserve. Fair enough. That was the week that was Coronation Street. Helen, tell me, what was your moment of the week?
Oh, I had it in my head, and now I can't remember what it was. Oh, it's George walking out with the coffin.
Oh, very sad.
Yes.
Did we have George recently? I think we might have.
No, last week was Paul in the Rain.
Yeah, but maybe before that. It doesn't matter.
doesn't matter.
We don't judge it
It's
on
yeah,
that basis.
The funeral is really beautiful until that dumbass shows up. And that was part of it is George and then Toyah with the wee teddy bear.
Oh, the wee teddy bear.
The
broke my
yellow
heart.
teddy bear, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Rose's funeral.
Rosie's funeral is our
Moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
and your boring moment of the week.
Now, I know you want me to say Kev washing dishes.
Well, that was a joke.
But for me, it's the fact that Ken doesn't seem to know how to use a walker because he doesn't unfold it. It's like folded, and he's walking with the walker unfolded instead of unfolding it and putting his hands on each side.
That's like how Fraser's dad used a walker when he didn't really use a walker.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. Did he?
Yeah.
Is that boring?
Well, for me, it was kind of just ridiculous. But you know what? You're right. Kev washing dishes is.
Because Kev was doing the dishes.
Kev was doing the dishes. He was being a lady.
What 21st century man Kev is. He was doing the dishes, but doesn't save it from being our...
Boring moment of the week.
Now, as per usual, every week, at the end of the last episode of the week, I go into Twitter and I ask our thousands of followers how they ranked this week's Coronation Street. And this were surprising results this week.
Really?
Yay was 32.7%, meh was 38.5%, and zzz was 28.8%. So a far better turnout for ambivalence and a positive response
Right.
than I was expecting.
It
I
seems-
was quite meh about it this
It
week.
seems quite evenly divided.
Yeah, much closer than it is typically. So what was your score out of 10 this week?
4.
Just a 4? Worse
Yeah.
than last week?
Yeah.
I think it was about a 6. I think it was just a regular, nothing special kind of week. Now for me, that's probably about a 6. I kind of enjoyed the bits and pieces of it.
Yeah.
I got a few laughs.
There were a few things that were good. But unfortunately, all of those things that were good were then immediately ruined by bad shit.
And Chesney's nipples.
Sure.
Oh well, that about wraps it up for another week then. This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast: Daisy, French Ellen, Pickles, DT, Trisha, Wendy, Noel, Canadian Helen, Christy, Shandy, English Victoria, Aurora Yvonne, Heather Westerfield, Russell Whiting, Jackie B and Brittany Porter. Thank you so much, folks. We really appreciate it. If you've ever drawn a cock on Steve's taxi, write in to tell us about it. Maybe send us a photo. We're the talk of the street at gmail.com, and we're at Corey Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads and Blue Sky. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/The Talk of the Street, or patreon.com/The Talk of the Street. Check out voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store, YouTube channel and blog. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists.
It happened this week.
A ringing endorsement. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode.
We solve racism.
And we'll be back next week with more
Talk of the Street.
Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.